Hey guys, welcome to Live, Laugh, Lies. It's your host, Susie, and please don't mind my voice. The whole episode won't sound like this, but I just got back from the Super Bowl and I had way too much fun, so I lost my voice. It's a bit raspy. It's kind of a vibe, but I just wanted to hop on here and say I'm going to be having my dad on the podcast today. He is so iconic. A lot of you probably met him at my hometown date from the season 26 of The Bachelor. He's amazing. He's super special to me, and we are going to be wrapping season 1. We'll be back very shortly. We have some really incredible guests that we are going to record some episodes, give ourselves a little bit of time to edit and get them out for you guys. So stay tuned as to when we'll be back for season 2. But to wrap season 1, I wanted to bring on my dad, have a fun little episode. It got a little heartfelt. It was a little emotional. But it's a really special episode, and I love my dad so much, and he was able to join me at the Super Bowl. We had so much fun. So I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah.
Everyone just wants to live, laugh, love. But in this disappointing world, there are many who are faced with lies. This is Live, Laugh, Lies.
Hi, Dad. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Lies.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me on my podcast. It is the season finale of season 1.
Yes, it is indeed true. As Susie mentioned, season 1 is officially under our belts. What a journey it's been. Actually, on second thought, maybe journey isn't the right word. Maybe a beautiful roller coaster would be more fitting. Yes, roller coaster feels right. Naturally, we've saved the best for last. The man who raised our wonderful host, Susie's dad, Tom.
So I figured I would bring you on for the very last episode of this season because you were kind of the star of episode 1. If you remember, I talked about dating and how you kind of scared him off when he came back around and how you've really influenced my life. So thought I'd have you on to chat through some of those things. But also we have our family dog Blue here. I don't know if you guys can see him in the camera if you're watching it on YouTube, but he's in the room with us and he wants attention. So before we jump into all that madness, I want to talk a little bit about me, actually.
Okay.
So,
isn't my favorite subject.
Yeah, I know you were nervous to come on here, and I was like, don't worry, I'm not going to ask anything too crazy, even though I think you do have like the best stories in the world. But I will ask a few of your stories because they are very funny and sometimes inappropriate, but not in a weird way, just in a funny way. Okay, so what was I like as a kid?
Oh my God. Jeez. No, I'm just kidding. Really, no problems. I mean, just pretty easygoing, except in your very younger days, you're a maniac. But as you got into elementary school and middle school, you just turned into a sweet girl,
But when I was like 2, you guys thought there was something wrong with me, right?
Man, I mean, it was kind of crazy. I remember one incident where my wife and I were in the spa, and it was right under her window.
Oh my God.
On the second floor. Can I tell this?
I don't even know, but go for it. We'll see.
And she threw a fit about something, and she just wasn't having it. And we were down in the spa, and she opened her window, took the screen out, and threatened to jump out of the window.
Yeah, I definitely might have had some issues as a kid.
And actually, my wife ended up taking her door off the hinge and pulling all of her, we tried everything, but what did it was the Susie bake oven or whatever. Remember the little oven?
The easy bake oven.
Yeah. When Jean took that out, that's when you said, "Okay, I'm going to be better," because you did not want that oven taken out of there.
I still think that a little part of that, like really chaotic, probably, I don't know what the word would be to describe a child like that, but somewhat ill child. I'm like, I still think she lives inside me, but I do think everyone says that after you guys like took away the little kitchen from my childhood, I was like, from that day on, my whole vibe was different and that I was like a really good kid. I was kind of like a goody-goody.
Yeah, it straightened her out. I mean, one other incident was my wife and I were laying in bed one night and I saw a streak of lightning, which I thought was lightning. But she took one of those plug-in lights that you plug in for a night light. She put a nickel in between the two plugs that go into the outlet and plugged it in, and it blew the circuits in the house and shot a huge bolt of lightning out of the socket. So when I was like, what the hell was that? And I run in the room and I look in Tommy's room and because I figured it was him, and he was under the covers, and I look in Susie's room and she's under the covers, and I'm like, what the heck happened? And I see this burn mark around the receptacle, and I pulled it up. I'm like, oh my God, they had a nickel in there. You know? And that was Susie.
Yeah, that was me.
That. And then the knife incident. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay. If you haven't been chased around the house by your sibling with a knife, then you haven't lived. That's what I'll say. I was very young.
Yep.
And I don't do that anymore.
It's the only time I ever spanked her is when she chased Tommy around the house with a knife. And,
I can't believe we're telling this on here.
And even treated it like a shank. She hid it under her bed when I came in the room, so it was hidden away. And then Tommy was like petrified. And that's the only time I ever spanked her.
Yeah. Okay. Well, besides those 3 times, I was a really good kid, right?
You were a very good kid. Very good.
I was like pretty... I feel like, I don't know what switched, but yeah, at some point after all of those really petrifying incidents, I did clean up my act, and I think I was a pretty good kid.
Had no problems from then on, except I know later in life, her and her mom had a few squabbles. One of the best was,
I'm
sitting in there watching a football game or something, and I see Susie come in the door. They had been out together. She comes in the door and she's like this, and she walks back to her room. She wouldn't look at anybody. And then my wife comes in and sits down and goes on Facebook, and she goes, Susie just unfriended me. And I guess they got in an argument in the car, so Susie came in the house and immediately unfriended her from all her social service, her social
media.
Yeah.
Well, and, Mom had added my crush on Facebook. And so I was like, Mom, like, this person doesn't, I like confided in her and was like, oh, there's this cute guy. And it was Tanner. And Mom freaking added him and probably was chatting him up, you know? I
think she was chatting him up.
Probably.
Because of the squabble.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. Yeah, that was a big one.
Right.
But
that was like, you were probably, what, 16 17
yeah.
At that point? So... yeah, it was just a minor thing. After that, I mean...
yeah, but I didn't date anybody. I didn't go out drinking.
Didn't have to worry about her, dating bad boys.
Stuff.
And, she was a very good child.
That all came later, right?
Yes, that's right. She refused to go to the father-daughter dance with me.
Oh my gosh, we're airing out all of the dirty laundry. I was so little. I don't even remember it. But I feel like massive guilt over that.
Yeah, she was mad at me about something, and they had the father-daughter dance. This was elementary school, by the way, and she refused to go with me.
This is horrible. This is making me sound really... That broke my heart, too. I feel terrible. But to make it up to you, we're going to the Super Bowl.
That's right. She just got me a ticket to the Super Bowl, so I'm going to forget all the past.
Yes.
This is the last you'll hear of any of that stuff.
Perfect. Okay, great. Okay. Now that everyone knows how deeply unwell I am, we're going to move on. Okay, so considering all of that, did you expect this to be what my life looked like? Did you ever picture me to be a podcast host? Or
I knew it was going to be something because you were making videos when you were in elementary school.
Yeah.
And I still have one of the first little cams I got, or it's upstairs actually, and there's video on it. We got to get it off there, but she was walking around with that thing, doing videos, and then she did, I think your best one was Disco Curtis. You remember that one?
A little music video.
Yeah, it was with all her friends, and they were behind the Farm Fresh in town. And it was a good video. I mean, I would, even now, I think that would stand the test of time.
That's funny.
It was a very good video. It was you, Courtney, and Olivia, I believe. And I have it somewhere. I'm going to post it someday and dig it up. But she started out, you always were doing videos. You did one out back with Olivia where you did still frames and put them together, and looked like different clothing was coming on and different outfits and stuff like that. So I always knew it would be something in video, something to do with video.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a love for that, and you're always shooting videos.
That's cool. I didn't expect you to say yes. I was expecting you to be like, no way, like this is.
No, I
But
thought
that's
you were
cool.
going to do something like that. And then when you went to college, you took cinema art, so that was kind of a key in right there too.
Yeah, true. Okay, well, we all know that this podcast is about lying. So was there anything from my childhood that you remember me specifically lying about, besides the knife, besides the threatening to jump out my window, besides all that stuff?
Never.
Really?
No, I can't remember you ever lying to us,
I lied once.
Once?
Well, I remember a very specific lie.
You might have withheld the truth, but
Yeah.
you didn't lie,
I didn't lie a lot, but I know when I was probably 6 or 7, we were living in Virginia Beach, and I lied to a neighbor about getting permission to be at their house. They asked, "Oh, did you ask your parents if you could be here?" I said, "Yeah." And then they called, freaking tattletales. They called to make sure. And then you guys didn't give me permission. So I had to go home. And when I got home, you guys made me call and apologize for lying to her. And I was like melting down on the floor because I was so embarrassed. I was like, I don't want to talk to her. But it was a big lesson because I was like, well, now I know there's consequences if I freaking lie to people. So I didn't lie a lot. I'm sure there were some lies here and there, but
I don't think so. I think the only thing, I never thought you ever drank or did anything bad, and then I found out later, yeah, you did do a few of those things. And
I tried drinking once, but I tried it when I was a freshman, and then I never did it again.
Yeah, I never had
Yeah.
to worry about you drinking. Never had to worry about you doing drugs. Didn't have to worry about that. I mean, we were really lucky.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
that came
very
later,
lucky.
the drinking and drugs,
Yep. Really, and you lived kind of a sedentary life, because your friends would be going out and they were drinking. So a lot of times you just didn't even go out because you
Yeah.
didn't want to be involved with that. So I remember many nights of you being in your room by yourself.
Yeah, probably doing
Yeah.
weird stuff like
No, you're in there posing.
making videos,
and
posing,
checking your walk, and, like checking your,
doing pageant stuff.
pageant stuff, talking in the mirror to make sure you look right and all that.
This is embarrassing.
Yeah, but
Oh my God.
look where it got you. Look where
That's
you are
true.
now,
That's
so.
true. Went to Miss USA
Yep.
when I was much later in life, so paid off eventually. But
Spent a lot of time by yourself, though.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I did, but I also spent a lot of time with my friends too.
Yeah, you had a good time too.
Yeah. Okay, you guys know I love a morning coffee or a matcha, but there's something even better you could be swapping it out with. And so I'm actually going to be talking to you about something I really like. It's called mud water. I drink it in the afternoon when I want that second cup of coffee, but I don't want to not be able to sleep at night. I don't want the caffeine jitters. Mud water is such a great alternative. If you're getting that like brain fog right around 3 p.m., you need something to get you through the very end of your day. This February, give yourself the gift of self-care with Mud Water. Mud Water is the perfect way to show your body some love without the caffeine chaos. Mud Water is a nourishing drink packed with cacao, chai, turmeric, and adaptogenic mushrooms, which will keep you cozy all winter long. It helps you stay focused without the crash and feeling like you're running on empty. Plus, it's not going to keep you up all night. Mud water is smooth and steady and the perfect way to give myself a clean, calm energy without a roller coaster. So head to mudwater.com, mudwtr.com, and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get exclusive deal up to 43% off your entire order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code LIVELAUGHLIES. That's right, up to 43% off with code LIVELAUGHLIES at mudwtr.com. After your purchase, they'll ask how you found them, and please show your support and let them know that we sent you. Keep your energy natural and refreshing all year long with Mud Water, because life's too short for anything less than clean, delicious energy. Okay, well, let's transition to the Bachelor time frame. What was it like watching me on The Bachelor?
It's pretty hard.
Was it?
Yeah, in some cases. Yeah, because you're just like, and I never really watched The Bachelor before. I know you and your mom would sit down and watch it, and I'd go upstairs and watch TV pretty much. But when you were on, it was just hard to see you cry on
Aw.
camera and be upset on camera. It was tough, but it was a good time too. We had a really good time watching you and seeing you develop and, everything that came from that. So it was well worth it. I mean, we enjoyed it, definitely.
That's cool.
But it was sad watching you get upset too,
Yeah, that's fair. But you see that all the time now. I'm just a crybaby.
Right.
I feel like after 2020, really after you got sick, I think all of us are just a bunch of emotional people in this house.
Yeah, I think it made us all realize that you could be gone tomorrow, and you got to love each other today, because something could happen tomorrow and you're gone, or I'm gone, or somebody's gone. So you don't want to leave a conversation in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know, you always want to make up or try to work things out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that was a big eye opener for all of us. And now I think I just look at everything and I'm like, oh, I'm just so grateful. I feel like we've got really good family and stuff like that. So
yeah, we're tight. We enjoy the grandkids, or your nieces and your niece and nephew, and we have good family get-togethers. You know.
Yeah, we do. We're crazy, but
we have a good time.
Yeah, we have a good time, and there's so I feel like none of us would turn a blind eye to the other. You know,
that's right.
We've been there through a lot of stuff, but okay, so post Bachelor. Do you remember when that girl came out and said that she was she had hooked up with Clayton while I was dating him? What was your reaction to that?
I didn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah, right from the beginning. He's a good guy. I will say that. In the time I got to know him, he's an honest person. He has a lot of feelings, and he's a good person. And I just could not see him doing that to you. You know? So I never believed it for a second that that's what happened, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a good person. And I just think sometimes you know in your heart that someone's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people, you know?
I agree. I felt that way about him too, where I was like, I just felt like he was a decent, good human being. Really, yeah, yes. Exactly. So I remember thinking Clayton. That too.
I still do. I mean, we still have some contact, and I like stuff he doesn't. He like stuff that I do. So.
His dance vids?
I love his dance videos.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I wish I could do that. That takes guts.
I know.
To get out there and do that. And he looks good too.
Yeah, he's killing it. That's funny.
Hello, me again. Chiming in with a quick warning that due to technical difficulties, Susie's audio is about to switch. Apologies for the jump scare. Gotta love technology. Okay, that's enough out of me. As you were.
The first boyfriend I ever had, I'd never even freaking kissed a boy. I went to college, started dating this guy, and he was a liar, cheater, manipulator. Ultimately, did all the worst things, and then lied about having cancer.
Yeah, that was a mind blower, and I believed him. He said it was melanoma in his head, you know, from the sun. I actually sent him a hat, you know, to wear. Remember? I believed him. No. I was like, oh my God, make sure you wear this hat. And I sent him a hat, and then I remember when I came out to visit you at college, he and I had dropped you off the house and were sitting in the car, and he admitted it to me and was crying, you know, and I didn't have that much sympathy. You know? I mean, I was like, oh man, I'm glad you're coming, you know, coming forward with it. But in my mind, I'm like, he just lost Susie.
Yeah.
Because you don't lie to Susie.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, that's probably your number one rule. Don't lie.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I'll find it.
Yeah,
and I won't even tell you that I found it.
She's a savage when it comes to that. Yeah, you can't lie to her.
Yeah, exactly. So
that was a weird one. I feel like I recently found a journal entry, which I've been journaling for years and years, and I sometimes rip pages out of like significant moments. And recently I found the journal entry of when I was first told by him that he had cancer, and I put it in my journal and I wrote, like, he told me he has cancer, but I kind of don't believe him, but it just seems like such a messed up thing to accuse somebody of, that I feel like I can't accuse him of lying about cancer. So I guess we'll see what happens. And like, it's just so funny. I ripped that piece of that journal out and kept it for years, because I was like, that is a core memory, a core realization that you have to trust your gut, and that when people are lying, especially somebody that you know on a deep level, it's like, I knew him very well, and I was like, something is off about this, but man.
He's a very charming guy. Your mom loved him. Everybody loved him.
Family was asking about him for years afterwards. Like, what about him? And I'm like, if only y'all knew.
But your mom did not believe it.
Mm-hmm.
She was the only one. Well, I think you had doubts, but your mom was like, right from the beginning, like, I think he's lying.
Yeah.
You know? So she was able, I'm kind of a sucker like that. And I want to believe people, and I think you want to believe people too. Whereas your mom is like, I need proof.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that's Gene Bean. Okay, if you could go back in time and give me one piece of advice during that relationship, what would it be?
I don't think there's anything you could have done because you broke up with him, you came home, and he drove all the way from Missouri to here without telling you and showed up at the door.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? Kick him out?
Right.
You know?
And that time it wasn't about the lie. That was just that first time I was just trying to break up with him.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, it was so romantic and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he drove like 13 hours straight to get here. Got a ticket, rented a truck or something. Remember that? He rented a pickup truck or something.
Which I judged him so hard. I was like, it's so fuel inefficient.
Right.
And I was like,
right.
You're
why would you rent that?
Literally, I'm like, you're so broke. I'm like, why would you get a truck?
Right.
Idiot. Yeah, it was
Oh,
judgmental.
But yeah, I can't think of anything because I think you did everything right. I think maybe, I don't know, once you suspected that he was cheating, you should have probably like ended it there because I think you gave him another chance. You gave him the benefit of the doubt, but I think deep inside you knew that he was cheating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just weren't able to bring yourself to believe it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a thing. That's a common theme for a lot of us in life. I feel like you just kind of know in your gut, but it's like, I talked about that recently in therapy with my wonderful therapist, Jacqueline, and she was like, why do you feel the need to like prove things to yourself? Like if your gut is telling you something, like believe it.
It's usually right.
It's usually right. Yeah.
Yep.
Then he showed up at our house like 5 years later.
Yep. Yeah, my wife got home from somewhere and was checking the mail, and she saw a car down the street. Like she's looking at the car, and she's like, I wonder who that is. And it pulls up, and it's him. And he's looking for you. And he had driven up. He was in Miami at that time. He was going to D.C. and decided to stop in. And to me, that's kind of like stalking because he was waiting for you to come home. He wasn't waiting for us. And what he didn't know is Susie was no longer living here. Or were you living here?
I had just come back from Japan, living in Japan for 2 years.
Yeah. So my wife talked to him and said, I don't know where she is. And then he was trying to get a hold of your friends to get a hold of you. And then he didn't. And then he left town, and went to D.C.
So why do you think he left town?
Yeah, he knew. Yeah.
Didn't you say something?
Well, what happened is he left and then he was texting you and trying to, because what he wanted to have closure. But he wanted it on his terms. Like he wanted to say something, like what he felt and all that. And what he did is he texted you, and you guys were it was getting kind of hostile. You showed me the text messages. And then he said, I'm coming back through, and I want to see you when I come back through. And at that point, I texted him from your phone. And I said, this is Susie's dad.
No, you did. I think you did it on your phone.
Did I do it on my phone?
Because I didn't know what you said.
Yeah, I texted him, and I said, what you're doing right now is considered stalking. We've already called the local police here, and there is a, what's it called?
It's like a statement. We made a statement. At the
It was I'm trying to think of, but anyways, it was, we let the police know what had happened and that they should be on the lookout for this guy, And then that was it. We've never heard from him since that,
Yeah.
But trying to think what we did is, I'm trying to think, it's like a harassment.
Yeah.
Some
kind of
something like that. But
all I know is that I think you scared the crap out of him.
Yeah, well, and also I think he's from another country, so something like that could get him deported probably.
Could get him in trouble.
Yeah. For
sure. Yeah, I guess so if it's some kind of criminal thing came up. Okay, so do you think once a liar, always a liar, or do you think people can change?
I think if you're a pathological liar, it's pretty hard to change.
Yeah.
Because it comes so natural. I've known people that were pathological liars. They will even lie about things they don't have to lie about. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like what he did. Yeah. He was like that. So I think unless he goes into some major type of therapy or something.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he's done because he doesn't think anything's wrong with him. But I do believe it's pretty hard to break that habit.
Yeah.
Of lying. If it comes natural like that, and you're even lying about things you don't have to lie about, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's fixable, you know?
Mm-hmm. Has anyone ever told you a really crazy lie that you can remember?
Yeah, well, I had one. This is a weird one, but I thought it was a lie. Well, it was a lie. But years ago, when I was covering the state of Florida in sales, I ran into this salesman at a company that I was calling on. And he was one of those guys that knew everything. So, a good salesman. I took him to lunch, and we were talking, and he's telling me about how he was in Vietnam and he killed all kinds of people over there, and just these stories. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I mean, at that time, I had been actually drafted at 18, and I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, there is no way he was of age, because he was a lot younger than me. And I'm like, I think he's lying about this. I really don't think that he was in Vietnam.
Also,
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
that's a weird one.
Oh, yeah. So time went on, right? And I always thought he was a liar. And I was calling on one of my distributors. Well, I went by the company he worked for, and I asked for him because I was going to take him to lunch, and they said, he's no longer here. I was like, that is really strange. He just like disappeared. So I go to the distributor who sold product to that company, sold our product. And I was talking to a couple of girls that ran that company. And I said, what happened to so-and-so? And they said, oh my God, you won't believe this. He murdered his wife. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it turned out he was living in Miami. He murdered his wife.
Oh my gosh.
And the way he got caught, they had just bought a new color TV. He had cut her up, put her into this TV box, and threw it into a dumpster.
What?
And they were able to track him through the serial number on that box.
Oh my god.
So these girls were freaking out because they're like, yeah, we've been out at night with them and blah, blah, blah. And everybody was riled up like, oh my God, we can't believe we were around this guy.
Oh my gosh.
And to me, it validated. I was just like, I knew he was a liar, but I didn't think he was a murderer.
Right. That's the next level.
I know. I should look it up and see what ended up happening to him.
Yeah.
But it was weird because right after that, I was transferred out of Florida up to Virginia. That's how I got up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just never heard what happened. But yeah, he was a murderer.
That's crazy.
So I always I'm very careful around people that lie like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I know it's like just a crazy lie, I'm staying away from them because you don't know. They're pathological, I think, at that point.
Right. Yeah, anyone that can lie that comfortably, it's like,
oh yeah,
what else?
He's a good salesman, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he made great money.
He sold a lot of our stuff. But what are you gonna do?
That's funny. I just want to know, this doesn't have anything to do with lies, really, but I love this story. I made you tell it on The Bachelor, but it didn't make the air. You just mentioned you got transferred to Virginia. Can you tell the story of how you met Mom and why it took you so long to reach out to her?
Oh, I'm so bad. So what happened is my cousin. So I was transferred to Virginia. My future wife was transferred to Virginia from Chicago. I was transferred from Florida to here. And then my cousin in Florida was also transferred to Virginia with Montgomery Wards. I don't know if anybody remembers Montgomery Wards, but she worked for Montgomery Wards, and so did my wife. So my cousin ended up being my wife's boss at this credit center, which is it used to be in Hampton. It was a big credit center. And my cousin always loved me. And she goes, if I can't have you, obviously, because we're cousins, I have found the girl for you.
Yeah.
This is the girl. I'm like, I don't do blind dates. They don't work, She goes, oh, okay. So she invited me and made sure that everybody hated the girlfriend I was with at that time. And she made sure that she was doing something else, and she invited me over for dinner, and she invited Gene over too. It was a group atmosphere,
mm-hmm.
And we hit it off, But then I was living with this girl, and I kind of had to get rid of her, and it took me a year to get rid of her. I had to put a down payment on a car and co-sign for it to get rid of her because she didn't have a working car. And she had a major drink and drug problem, which I didn't know, but it was bad.
Yeah.
And basically I, sent her packing, but it took me about a year, and I'm not a type of guy that can handle 2 women at one time.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So I did not call your mom for a year.
But she gave you her number at that dinner?
Yeah, she gave me her number, and I said, I told her the situation, and never called her back. And then the day this girl left, I called Jean, and she says she didn't hear the message, but it went to, in those days we didn't have cell phones. It was one of those answering machines. Mm-hmm. It went to the answering machine, and I left a message on there, and I'm like, I know she's listening. She's just not going to pick up, She denies it, but maybe she wasn't. But anyway, it took about a year for us to get together. And I think after we got together, within 6 months, we were engaged. Mm. So it worked out good. My cousin picked a good one for me.
Yeah, she did.
So
happily ever after.
Yep.
Yeah, I admire y'all's relationship, and
35 years.
35 years. Yep. And no one would know, but I'm back home in Virginia because my mom had some health stuff going on, and just seeing you care for her while she's going through this stuff has been, not me getting emotional. Ew.
It's the least I can do.
When
I was sick, she wiped my butt. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you that don't know as well, my dad in 2020, right amid all of COVID, everything, he almost died. He was in a coma and got down to 150 pounds or something. And he's 6'2". And yeah, it was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And I think that seeing mom take care of you was really important, because it just showed such a good value in partnership, and you supporting the person you love and staying through the tough times with them when they need you. And so
she slept every night at the hospital for 15 days.
Yeah.
She never left that hospital, so, and it was not comfortable. It was a crappy couch she was sleeping on. Mm-hmm. And I remember one night she had a nightmare. We were you're in a hospital wing, and she started screaming in her sleep. And all these nurses came running, what's going on? And she just had a nightmare,
Yeah.
I don't know what she was dreaming about, but yeah, she was there for 15 days.
Yeah.
With me.
And then the freaking 6 months after and everything to see. Yeah. So it's good. It's good being home. It's it's obviously, not fun because it's not great circumstances, but it's important, I think, for me to see that and to see 2 loving people. So I'm really grateful to have good parents that are a good example for me. Okay, ask some people if they had questions for you or if anyone needed fatherly advice. Okay, somebody asked the question, what do you hope Susie remembers about you?
I think the big thing is that she remembers that I was honest, and I took care of my family the best I could. That's the main thing.
Can you make me cry?
But that's what it's all about, is you want them to have a fond memory of you. You don't want them to, think back and go, oh my God, what a horrible life I had, with my family. So. Well,
I'm lucky. I always, for those of you that are listening and not watching, I'm just dabbing my tears, but I've had the best life and the best childhood, and I'm the luckiest person in the world. So, and that's because of you and Mom and Tommy and Barb.
We're pretty lucky to have you too.
Thanks. If you could tell your younger self something, what would it be?
I can't think of anything, because I can't think of anything I would change. Because if I changed anything, I wouldn't be where I am right now, sitting with you. Yeah. So I can't, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I'm not saying I made all the right decisions, but I think all the decisions I made led me to here, so I have no complaints. No. Yeah. If I were to die today, I have no problems with it,
Anything special you did to instill confidence in me as a person?
I think the biggest thing was to just let you experiment and do your thing. I remember in the pageantries you had, some not issues, but confidence issues there, and we always try to bolster you and just say, look, you're looking at things wrong here. You're perfect. And you were.
Thanks.
Nobody's exactly perfect, but I think you were always too hard on yourself, and we always try to let you know that, you were doing great.
Thanks. Yeah. You guys definitely let me
explore and do your
experience.
thing.
Yeah, I definitely was a weird kid. So I think you guys embraced my weirdness, and somehow it has paid off because I'm doing podcasting and social media, and I do think the weird things that I was like interested in have paid off in my life. I'm like, oh cool, like now this is my job and it's my career. And you guys actually very much like fostered a good environment for that.
Well, and we enjoyed watching you too. You know, I mean, I was telling Susie last night that when she won Miss Virginia, I literally almost shit myself. You know, I mean, it makes you so nervous. I'm like, does anybody have a Valium? Oh my God, you know, because you don't realize how it doesn't seem like it'd be like, oh, it's a pageant. You know, people look at it like, but you know, they do that final question, and it's like I was sitting there like I held my breath, you know, because I have seen girls go up there and just stumble.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Me is one of them.
No, you did great. You know, you made up a new word that's in the dictionary now. No, it's not in the dictionary.
Yeah.
But
I did make up a new word, diversal, and I didn't even know. I as I said it came out, and I thought it was a real word.
That was good.
Yeah.
And watching your mom was the amazing thing when you won. I don't know if anybody saw Mrs. Doubtfire where she jumped over the railing at the restaurant to save the guy that was choking on the shrimp. That was your mom jumping on the stage when you won. I mean, seriously, that comes to my mind. I'm like, it was exactly like that.
That's funny.
Not the looks, but the jump.
Yeah, the jump. Okay, so somebody wrote in and said, I never had a great father figure in my life. Can you tell him to say something fatherly to the girls that didn't have a healthy father figure?
I would say just find a husband that isn't like your father.
Or a partner if you go that way.
Or a partner, yeah.
Yeah.
Just try to find someone who, because I think sometimes we try to pick people who are like our parents possibly, and in some cases you could be attracted to someone who isn't that good of a person too. So I think to me that's the main thing, is try to find someone in your life that can counterbalance that negative upbringing that you had.
Yeah.
You know.
Like break the cycle kind of.
Yeah, break the cycle.
Yeah. That is good. Do you feel like, because I know you had good relationships with both of your parents at different times, and you had tough relationships with both your parents. What was that like navigating? Because I know you did have a kind of tough situation with your dad at one point, right? How did you navigate that? Because I know you loved him so much and he was a big part of your life.
So here's the thing. Back when I was growing up, capital punishment in the family was not frowned on. Like if you belted your kid, nobody said anything about it. It was like, that's my kid. I can do what I want. So the way we were raised, like my brothers and I and my sister, was rougher, you know, for sure. But that was the standard of how kids were raised back then. You know, it was the old spare the rod, spoil the child, or spare the rod, spoil the child. It was a saying I remember vividly. And I also remember the other one is, this is going to hurt me more than you.
Dang.
When you got spanked, and I never understood that. I'm like, wait a minute. There's no way that hurt you more than me, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a different time. We were raised differently. We were, it was a little bit rougher. And I think my parents came from the Depression. So it was a whole different upbringing. You know, we were not rich. We were, I mean, I've described to people like my childhood sometimes, and they're like, you were poor, weren't you? I'm like, no, I don't feel like I was poor, you know? I mean, they always had a good Christmas for us. Sometimes my dad had to hand make our presents, you know? So it was really different than now. But I think it gave me a good foundation I can say anything about my dad, but my dad taught us everything. He taught us how to fish, how to camp, how to enjoy the outdoors. He just never didn't know how to raise kids. You know, didn't know how his dad kicked him out of the house, or actually didn't kick him out, but he made him leave the house, and his aunt actually raised him because his father hated him.
Wow.
I remember my dad telling me that. So I remember my dad also telling me, he goes, I didn't know how to be a parent because I didn't have a parent. You know, my dad wasn't part of my life, so he didn't know how to be a dad.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's important too.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a good father figure, or a mother, mother figure, I think you're going to be probably a successful parent too,
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like you and mom both had different, really hard childhoods in different ways. Like mom lost a parent to cancer.
When she was 13.
Yeah, and you obviously had your family split up and you
Divorce,
had divorce and had tough, really tough stuff. Like your life was just really hard. From what I hear, when I look at my life compared to yours, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the shit you went through, sorry to cuss, but the crap you went through is like wild, which is why I think some of your stories are so funny. We should do another episode where we just talk about your childhood stories because we laugh our ass off when you tell me some of these stories. Like the time you were driving with your brother Mike and you were ejected out of a car. Yes. Can you please just give us a brief one? Because that one's a funny, lighthearted one.
I had just come into town. I was working on a job out of town. And it was late. I called him and I said, hey, let's go out and get, dinner or something like that. So my roommate, myself, and my brother went out and got dinner. And then there was a girl at where we were at who was obviously drunk. You could see that she was drunk, but nobody took her keys away. We just we ate and we left, and we pulled up to a light. There was a railroad track. If anybody knows Florida, where Dixie Highway is, there's a train track that goes all the way up there. We stopped at a light just before the train track. Well, this girl left the restaurant drunk, was doing like 55 miles an hour. We were in the left lane at the light. She was in the right lane. She fell asleep at the wheel, woke up at the last minute, and there was a car in front of her, and she just swerved, and she rear-ended us at full speed. Didn't hit the brakes or anything. And it was wild. But it literally pushed us through the intersection, across the railroad tracks, and I literally woke up in the street, in the seat. It was a Volkswagen. It was an old, I think it was a 61 Volkswagen. So when it hit, I flew forward and the whole seat came off the rail. And it shot me out the door. And I literally woke up in the street in my seat.
Still buckled in?
Yeah. No, I wasn't. There was no seatbelts back
What?
then. Oh, yeah, we didn't have seatbelts.
How did you survive this?
I don't know. I got lucky, And all I remember is it knocked me out because I hit the windshield and then it ejected me from the car. And I just remember waking up in the street in my seat and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Because it literally sounded like a plane crash. I thought a plane had crashed on us. That's how loud it was. The bad part was my brother was in the back seat. And I don't know if you know what old Volkswagens were like, but they had a seat and then there was a space behind it where you could put items. They didn't have headrests back then. So when it hit, he flew forward into my seat. That's what pushed my seat off. When he flew back, his neck hit the back of the seat and it broke his neck.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so he's got a broken neck. My best friend, his knees were shot because they had steel dashboards at that time. It screwed his knees up. He got thrown forward too. My brother, they had to literally take him out through the back window on a stretcher. And He was like, I think it was 13 weeks. He was in one of those halos where they put screws in your head and they have weights going off the back of the bed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so he was 13 weeks in that, and he never, as far as I'm concerned, I think at that point, he got addicted to painkillers and his life just wasn't the same after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was sad.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the girl that hit him, he did get a lawyer to pay the medical bills, and the lawyer came to him and said, look, there's not much money. I mean, she's like obviously a single girl, but she lives at home. We can sue her parents,
Dang.
And her brother said, I don't want to do that. So he refused to do that. And so that's how it ended pretty much.
Wow. I didn't really know that Uncle Mike ended up in the hospital from that.
Oh, 13 weeks.
All I knew is that you got ejected out of a car seat and that part of the story was funny, but the rest is not. It's actually really sad.
Well, and he's lucky he wasn't paralyzed.
That's
true. It broke
true.
in such a way where it didn't paralyze him.
Yeah.
That was lucky. But he always had pain for the rest of his life.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. But now we've got Barbara, who's his daughter.
Yeah, we adopted his daughter. He passed away. God, I can't. I want to say 10 years.
10
ago.
years ago.
Yeah, probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we adopted his daughter when she was 12.
We've got to get Barbara on the podcast because she has lived 1,000 lives.
Yeah, she makes my life look tame.
Yeah, she does. I feel like your life stories, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I hear what Barbara's gone through and what she's experienced. And thankfully, we all have a good sense of humor in this family because the way she tells them, I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you not more traumatized?
Right.
But she's an awesome person. But okay, we will wrap the show after you tell us if you could. We're gonna do live, laugh, lie. So if you could live one part of your life over again, what would you do different?
I mean, seriously. I mean, going back to that accident, I probably wouldn't have gone to dinner that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that would have changed the whole projectile of my brother's life.
Wow.
You know, I mean, because from that point on, he was never the same. You know.
Wow,
I
that's
mean,
so
he was
crazy.
always in pain. He was, trying to kill the pain any way he could.
Yeah.
You know? So I think if I could change one thing, that would be the thing I would change.
That'd be a good one.
Definitely.
Oh. Sorry, Dad. we're just crying.
I know. Jeez.
We're big
Getting all
emotional.
emotional.
Yeah. That's a good one to change.
Yeah.
Is there anything that makes you laugh when you look back on your life story?
Pretty much everything. I mean, I think I look at life with a sense of humor, which I think is a healthy way to look at life. So, yeah, I just feel like you have to have some sense of humor to get through life.
Yeah.
You know,
I
because
love that.
like we were talking about last night, I said like, and I may be wrong, but it seems like 50% of your life is going to be good, and about 50% of it is going to be bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying that's how it breaks out, but they always say you have to take the good with the bad, and that's really how it is. You know,
Yeah.
if something bad is happening, what I've always told myself is tomorrow's a different day, and you can wake up and start over every day. And I mean, in life, I feel like that's important. You know, you need to be able to say, look, today's different than yesterday. I'm going to make it a good day.
Yeah.
So
That's good advice.
yeah.
Okay. And then what is the worst lie you've ever told? Or the best lie you've ever told, if there's a good one.
God. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't lie. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've never lied.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I might have fibbed a few times probably in my life, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm just, number one, I'm a terrible liar. My dad I was always the weak one. You know, my younger brother could look him right in the eye and lie to him. And my dad would just look in your eyes and he'd know. And I always thought he knows I'm lying. I can't lie.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time lying. And I remember one time, one of my friends got really mad at me because we were going to, like, when they had actual, like, PG, R, and X ratings at movie theaters, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to get into an R movie, and you had to be, I think, 17, and we were all 16. And we got up there, and they were asking, how old are you? And like, everybody's going, 17, 17, 17. They asked me, how old are you? I'm like, 16?
Couldn't lie.
And my friend wanted to kill me. And he goes, why didn't you say 17?
Yeah.
And he got us all booted out of here.
Oh, dang.
So, yeah, I'm just not a good liar.
Yeah, that's good.
You know?
That's a good thing. I always say that's a good thing when people come on and they say they're not a good liar. I just had a memory from another lie that me and Tommy told, which you know this one already, but when we were kids, we had a rock fight out in the side of the house, which is a really horrible thing to do, to throw rocks at each other. But they're like these little rocks that you have like on our driveway kind of. And it was like his friends versus my friends. And then one of his friends, I think it was Brian or Glenn, threw one and it went through a window in our house.
Oh, yeah, through our side window in the garage.
Yeah. And so as a collective in the group, we knew we were going to be in trouble. So we went and found a dead bird and we put it in the windowsill where the rock had gone through. And I think you guys knew immediately.
No way
because,
I believe that.
Yeah,
There's
because
no
it was
way.
like a double pane window, so it was like there's no way the
There's
bird.
no way that bird flew through there, you know?
Yeah. So that was one more life from our childhood that I figured we could end on. But Father, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Okay.
You're a dream guest. You're the best man I know. I'm grateful that you're in my life. I'm grateful that you're my dad. And
I'm glad you're my daughter. You know?
Thanks.
I'm going to the Super Bowl.
We're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, by the time you guys watch this, we'll have experienced the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So stay tuned for the socials. We'll be posting on social media.
And with that, season 1 comes to an end. A beautiful roller coaster of living, laughing, and of course lying. We can't wait to dive back into it for season 2 and bring you more jaw-dropping stories and episodes. For now, stay alert and stay safe, little liars.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast has been brought to you by Podcast Nation.